All right, so let's get started. Welcome. Thank you for joining me for the nonprofit plug. Today is July 21st. Yes, July 21st, 2020. This is the nonprofit plug. Thank you for joining me. If you have ever thought about starting a nonprofit, this Instagram Live is for you, because there's a possibility that you've been procrastinating for a while now, and now it's time for me to activate you into starting your organization. So if you have any questions as you come in, go ahead and add them. At the bottom of the screen, there's a question mark and a box around it where you can add questions in. Otherwise, you can type it. If it's too many people that come in, there's too many chat going on, it may be difficult to get your questions, but otherwise, go ahead and add them in as you come in. So my name is Tattegrain, and I am the founder of Dare Humanity, and we have been partnering with the communities in Haiti for 2 years now. We started our work in Haiti in 2018, but my organization started in 2015, so we've been in existence for 5 years. So I am also a nonprofit consultant, helping nonprofits start, as well as activating them into their purpose of serving others, as well as getting that funding, the initial funding for nonprofits. One of the big myths about nonprofits is there is no money. People think that when you start a nonprofit, it's going to be difficult to get funding. It is not going to be difficult, because I have a way in which you can get funding for your nonprofit even after you just received your tax-exempt status. So if you're thinking, well, where are the resources going to come from? Where am I going to get the money to start a nonprofit organization? Dismiss that, because the money is there, your family, your network is there. You can leverage your network in order to get funding for the things that you're doing for your organization. And so today is the day that you are going to step into your purpose of starting a nonprofit. It's not about you when it comes to starting a nonprofit. It's about the people you serve. So consider the fact that if you are not starting a nonprofit, that those people that you are planning on serving, that they are not going to get those services because you decided that you weren't going to start a nonprofit. I can relate to this, because the work that we're doing in Haiti, those people that we're serving in the two communities that total to about 2,000 people, they would not be receiving the services from Dare Humanity if I had not taken that second trip to Haiti. So a bit of a background: I went to Haiti the first time on a medical mission trip, and then about 2 years later, actually 3 years later, that is when I decided to go back. I only knew one person at that time, and that person introduced me to the communities, one in which we're still working with. So if you ever think to yourself, how am I going to connect with the people that I plan on serving? All you have to do is do the network. Speak and reach out to the people who are already connected to the people you plan on serving. If you are planning on having a youth program in the area, reach out to your network and say, hey, would your child be interested in an after-school program? Would your child be interested in getting mentorship in an area expertise of a professional? That's just an idea for a mentorship program. You need to stop making excuses and get your ideas together and start working on the things that you're supposed to be working on in relation to this nonprofit that you're supposed to start. If anything from these last couple of months, everything around COVID, you should realize that people are going to need the services even more now after everything has cleared up, and even in this time when things are still clearing up, because not every organization is able to tackle and work with the different people and the different areas in which you want to work in. So realize that the nonprofit sector is not saturated. That is another myth. It is not saturated, but there is others that are doing something that you may be considering doing. So the way that you mitigate that saturation is you do the research on what others are doing. You do a market research. You say, okay, so I'm looking to have youth mentorship programs in the Bay Area. What are mentorship programs that are happening? What is their approach? And when you do this examination, you're reflecting, you're researching. You're not doing it so that you can copy what they're doing. You're doing it so that you can learn from them, but you can also improvise and say, okay, so they offer these areas. They offer A, B, and C, but they're not offering this thing. So let me offer this. They're not serving this group of people, group of youth. So let me do this. So that is the purpose of research, is to learn and to decide on how your approach is going to be for your nonprofit organization. Another thing that may be something that is keeping you from it is the resources. Yes, it does cost money to start a nonprofit, but it could cost you less than $300 to do so if you file independently. Of course, you can decide if you want to file with someone else, you can pay them to do it, but the reality is it's not as much of a cost as you think it is. And in the long run, it's going to benefit so many people. It's going to benefit so many communities that you're going to be serving, the youth, the adults, if that's what the case is. So don't think that the funding is not going to be there. Don't think that when after you get your tax-exempt status that you are going to have difficulty in funding. Yes, it is a challenge. It was a challenge for me. But when I learned a simple way to go about doing it, so that's when the funding started to come in. I leveraged my network in order to bring in the funding for my organization. So at this time, if you have any questions, feel free to write them below. You can type them in the chat. You can also share this with your network as far as on Instagram, so then they can jump in here too and ask questions and view this information. Even if you just want to have a topic to talk about, go ahead and write that in the comment section and I can go ahead and cover. But right now I'm just going to continue to pour in my experience of starting a nonprofit. So I have had the pleasure of working with people who have started nonprofit or been on the fence about starting a nonprofit. So today, that's the purpose of today, is to get you off the fence, to get you in the process of thinking about your name of your organization, who you're going to be serving, what people are going to be on your board of directors. Nonprofits in the state of California are required to have at least 3 people on their board of directors, including you as the president and the founder and executive director. And then the additional positions that you're going to need to have are the treasurer and the secretary. So 3 people, that's all. And then if you decide if you want to add more members, that's completely fine. But those 3 initial members are what you need in order to file the Articles of Incorporation, which is one of the first steps of starting a nonprofit in the state of California. So also, you'll also want to consider your detailed audience. You don't want to say, well, we want to serve everyone. Like Marketing 101 says, if you say you want to serve everyone, that's not exactly something that's going to be reachable. But if you say, we're going to serve African American youth in the city of Hayward, for example, then your target audience is smaller. And then you can begin to work on how you're going to make those connections. You can begin to work on how you're going to have your programs and your services. You can decide on, are we going to be program-based or are we going to be service-based? If we're going to be either or a combination of the two, is it going to be a service-based that they charge for? Or is it going to be something that's offered free? If it is offered free, how are we going to compensate for the hours that it takes to orchestrate these kinds of things? What are we going to put in place for the people who are going to be coming in volunteering? So these are just some of the things you're going to want to have in mind. You're also going back to your board members, you're going to want to make sure that these board members are people who are go-getters. They're people who are going to be active. They're not going to just be in the role just to have the title of board of directors. They're going to be in the role because they really want to help you with their mission. I've had stagnant board members for my organization in the past, and that has led to delayed goals and things that we're supposed to be doing for our organization. It led to delayed meetings because everyone had to be canceled, because we weren't meeting quorum, because people were not attending. So from my experience of going through board members who are not completely active, I just challenge you to make sure that you're selecting people who are going to be active, that are going to help you with your mission, because it's going to take more than just you. It's going to take a village. It's going to take a group of people that are dedicated to the mission in order to accomplish what the goal is of the organization. So think about those things. You're also going to want to think about how you're going to get started. For my organization, we started based on an introduction to the communities that we're now serving. And then we thought about programs. I remember I was thinking about programs from the beginning, but then I realized I had to step back and say, okay, so if I had made those programs and established those programs without having an understanding of the people that I'm serving, then those programs would most likely not be in existence, because I didn't survey and have an understanding of the people before I decide on what the programs are going to be. So you may have an initial idea about what the program is going to be, and then later down the line you say, actually, this is going to be more of a service to the people if we do this instead, if we change our approach, if we decide on a different way in which we're going to do it. Go ahead and add in your questions if you have any questions. If you just want to sit here and listen to the chat, that's completely fine, but your questions help me fuel this conversation. And maybe you've had a pressing question about nonprofits for a really long time and you really just want to have understanding of it. You can go ahead and type those questions in there. So going back to my organization, Dare Humanity, we have been doing work in Haiti for 2 years now. Still the learning process, and you'll find as a founder that it's always going to be a continuous learning process. You're always going to continue to learn about the things for the people you're serving. You're going to continue to learn about them, and you're also going to continue to learn about how you can pivot and make sure that you're working efficiently as a nonprofit. And as a leader yourself, you should continue to be trying to learn about the things that you're going to be doing, because you want your organization to grow and expand. You don't want it to stay at the same level. You want it to continue to evolve as you evolve and as your mission, or at least the direction of your mission, evolves. So I'll be leaving for Haiti tomorrow. My trip to Haiti starts tomorrow. I have been delayed for the last 3 months. My flight was canceled 3 times. It was canceled 3 times. My initial plan was to go to Haiti in March, and now finally in July the airports in Haiti have opened, and now we're able to go finally. So it's been a very long process, also a process of waiting and being patient and realizing that there's nothing I can do about it directly, but I can do a few things while I'm here. One of the things we did do is we had a fundraiser that was specifically for everything COVID. So we were able to provide funding to provide necessities and resources for the people that we're serving. What that looked like was masks. We bought soap from them. If you have an understanding of Haiti and third world countries, you know that some of the common necessities that people have on a regular basis are not necessarily available for people in these types of countries. So we provided things like soap, masks, waters with taps so they can wash their hands. We also provided vitamins, because we want to prevent them from having illnesses in the future, and other things that we provided as well. So that was how we were able to pivot. And I found that having a nonprofit, I always have to have that place of pivoting, so I'm always able to figure out what the best solution is in combination with the people that I'm working with, passing ideas on to them and saying, okay, what do you think about this? What should our approach be? Tapping into the expertise of others. That's why it goes back to your board of directors. If you have a board of directors that is just you and others and they're not active, how is that going to help you with your mission? So make sure you're selecting the right people, not just people who fill the seats, but people who are actually going to do what they said they're going to do. One way to ensure that that happens is having them sign a board agreement. So we have them sign a board agreement going through their responsibilities and some of their tasks in the position that they held, so that they have understanding. And they know also that fundraising is a part of that. A lot of people, when you say fundraising, they get scared or they are a little hesitant when it comes to it. But when you are making it aware that to your board members that they are going to be responsible for fundraising, either if they're getting it or they're giving it, they are going to have that responsibility. So if you lead with that, then there will be a understanding of that moving forward, and you won't have to worry about them not bringing in the funding, because it's not always about your funding. It's going to be difficult if you are just depending on your funding to carry the work of the organization. Tap into your board of directors and tap into your network in order to bring in the funds for your organization. So that is all for the nonprofit plug. If you have any other questions after this is over, you can feel free to send me a DM or contact me at kiaharris.com if you're interested in having a strategy session to talk about your ideas about starting a nonprofit. You can go ahead and also go to kiaharris.com. The link is also in my bio on Instagram, where you can go and set up a consult session. I will be abroad, so I will be available, but there may be some background noise because I'm going to be in a different country, but we'll make it happen. So if you're wanting to talk about starting your nonprofit, talk about your ideas, talk about the process, feel free to connect with me, kiaharris.com. The link in my bio has a lot of the resources that I have out there for you. So thank you for joining the Nonprofit Plug. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday when I'm available out of the country, and talking about all things nonprofit. If I'm not live on here, I'm going to be live on Periscope. I'll just decide which platform to use. So you'll want to turn your notifications on to make sure you know when I'm going live. I'll be talking about different topics, different subjects, and also the replays for those are on YouTube. So if you're watching from YouTube right now, welcome, hello. Otherwise, you can watch the replays from YouTube. All those videos are uploaded there, where I'm talking about different conversations and transparency about being a nonprofit founder, because it is like a business, but it's also very different. So thank you for joining the Nonprofit Plug. Have a blessed Tuesday, and stay connected, because I will be documenting my trip in Haiti and all things nonprofit. So take care.